Hello all, welcome to another sessions, and in this section we are talking about that the difference between the RSC versions 8 and RSC versions 9 specifically, right? And then we will discuss about the command difference between the RHL 8 command, RHL especially the RSC 8 command changes and RSC 9, what's the new in RSC 9, okay? And then we will discuss about the installations as well, like how you can install the Ansible Navigator. That's like a new tool in RSC versions 9 and this particular videos especially, right? So when we're talking about the topic wise, right, so the installations and all those are same, right? Once we're talking about the, if we not going to expect that Ansible Navigator, so you can execute normal Ansible playbook command, right? So when we're talking about the session wise or topic wise, mostly our content are same, right? Like 2 or 3 chapter differ from that previous versions to the newest versions. Let's suppose that, for example, that we created content for you guys, right? So let's suppose like the first we have introduction of Ansible, what is Ansible and what the use of those things, right? And then installations as well. So in the first we are simple talk about that installations of Ansible with the help of EPL mechanisms. Either you can install from the release.ansible.com, either from the Red Hat subscriptions, right? The same thing in RHEL9 as well, right? You have options, right? You just take a subscription from the Red Hat to install those Ansible Navigator, just like a new tool in RHCE versions 9, right? With the help of those things, you can deploy, manage, or you can automate your configurations or your server infrastructure server, we can say, right? Similarly, in the second, what we learn in the RHL 8, right, when we talk about those things, so in this section we just like if we talk about those environment and those syntaxes, so we learn about the inventories file, then ad hoc command, and then CFG file as well in the RHEL version 8 when we talk about that, right? In the RHEL9, what we have that the same, we have inventory file, we have a CFG file and all those things, right? And in the same thing, we have how to write a playbook with the help of Ansible Navigator and all those things, right? And how to execute those playbook with the help of Ansible Navigator in the chapter number 2 as well. Because in RHEL 8, we have options to write a playbook in chapter number 3, but in the RHEL 9, RHC 9, we can say overall, we have a topic for the same, how to write a single playbook, multiple playbook, how to execute those programming with the help of our Ansible Navigator, right? Similarly, in the third, we have implementing these playbook in RHC version 8, but in the 9, we have the same, the variables and facts. This topic remains same actually, because you guys know about that RSC, we have a secrets, vaults, and then facts, right? All those. So the fourth we can say topic, and in the third topic, both are same in the RSC version 8 and version 9. There might be minor examples are changed, but the concept and everything remains same. Vault command is everywhere, like in the RSC version 8 and 9 as well. Okay, so there's a changes in this one. And then when we talk about that loops and all those things, right? So that's in chapter number 4, loops and handlers and tagging. Tagging is not there, but again you can use this hyphen steps options and tagging environment you can use in version 8 and 9 both. Version 8 we have the same thing, and version 9 we have the same thing. In the 8 we have a different chapter for this variables and facts and all those things. Okay, so that's one point. And moving on the next chapter, right, we have in chapter number 5 we have Ansible loops and all those things, right? In versions 9 we have a chapter number 4, so that's like differences. And in RSC we have chapter number 5, that's like a Jinja 2 template, you guys know about that. So template remains same in RSC versions 9, right? It's not going to change much in the version 8 and version 9. The definitions to write the template, that's are changed, but the syntaxes and all the J2 everything remains same. So accordingly you can just compare with the in your versions 8 and versions 9. So that's a point. Okay, and chapter number 6 when it's talking about that, right? So the things are remain same in the chapter number 6 in version 7 and version version 8 and version 9, like how to copy, how to include, how to import, and all those things, right? The same thing in the chapter RSC version 9 chapter number 6, how you can select the host pattern, right? Like in this particular we have chapter number 7, right? But in versions 9 we have a chapter number 6, right, where we can like let's suppose you have a lot of host informations, right? Then how you can choose your host inside your playbook, or we can say selecting the host pattern with the help of wildcard, with the help of name, with the help of IP, CIDR, a lot of things we have that, right? So the topic remains same, the technically word remains same, right? Only the chapter wise just are change, like chapter number 6 and 7 and all those things, right? Because it's like a few chapter in the versions 9, one chapter we can say less in the chapter number RC versions 9, right? So that's a point, and these topic are widely changed in RSC 9, right? That's like a new not we can say technically, if we're talking about that, the latest or higher automation with Ansible techniques and tools, right? So that's not going to change much one. But in the RSC actually, we have different contents for this topic actually, right? That's like important for this. So there's a totally change, right? So inside that we have a content and all those things. We have a roles, all those things. So we have option for the same. So this topic are majorly changed in RSC versions 9, right? Because if you notice now in the RSC version 8, we have roles, like how to create your own role, right? Then offline roles, and then from the galaxies role, right? So that's one. And the same we have contents collections, right? By default we have some content collection, you can import your own collection and all those things. So that topic are majorly changed in versions 9, right? And other thing are remain same. If you notice now, for example, the chapter number 9 we have a troubleshooting, in the chapter number 8 we have a troubleshooting in RSC versions 9, right? And in the chapter number 10th we have a automations are Linux admin start, like similarly managing users, group permissions, policies, and then cron job scheduling, user management, group management, and then storage management, all those are in the particular automation. The same thing you can use in chapter number 9, right? So overall we can say in chapter number in the RSC we have like 11 chapter, right? Including that comprehensive review, right? In RSC 9 we have a 9 chapter excluding the comprehensive review, right? Because we mentioned that comprehensive review is like optional, right? So overall we have 9 chapter in RSC 9, because we have a fewer things, because they add chapter number 2 3 in the single part chapter number 2, if you notice now, right? So that's like a major changes, not like a big changes in RSC version 8 and 9, but yeah, to writing a playbook, to executing the playbook, these are totally changed, especially in the examinations or in the when talking about the books and all those things. So accordingly we need to follow those things, okay? Why? Because in RSC versions 9 we have not Ansible playbook command, right? When was talking about the Ansible playbook, because you all know about that Ansible playbook that help you to execute your task and all those things, right? So that is by default in RHEL 8 when we're talking about RSC or any version we can say, okay, RSC 8. Now in RSC 9, right, we have an inbuilt Ansible Navigator command, okay, that allow help to manage or maintain all those informations and services that are going to help to deploy your or we can say build your applications, and depend on that what task you just mentioned inside those, okay? So we have like Ansible Navigator, that with the help of this command you're managing those things, right? So if we're talking about the differences, for the differences I already mentioned short terms for the same, like when we're talking about the Ansible playbook, right? So with the help of both command, when we're talking about the comparisons or difference between the playbook and navigator, right? So both are help you to run execute a playbook, but depend on that we have like some differences I just mentioned here, right? Okay, when we are trying to execute that playbook, right, it's require your specific inventory file and the CFG file, because you guys know that we have a CFG file like authentication file, and then we need a inventory file and then we need our task, like what task you want to execute on which manage node, so that we need require those things, and then we need a command line argument to run all those things, right? So we can say it's like a simple and efficient way to run the playbook task and everything, right? But again, playbook is like a difficult for the complex, like let's suppose we have a roles features, right? So to mitigate that humans here and all those things, we have a role, but role also we can say structures and many more things, right? So for that help those users and understand what process are going on, okay? And what changes would occur, especially in the real time and all those things, right? And especially that the feedback policies and all those things that allow in your Ansible Navigator. As name represent, navigations or we can say navigator that help you to like what task and how you execute those, right? So if you read this content I just mentioned for you guys, right? So on another hand, provide the user friendly interfaces. So provide that Ansible Navigator, right, for working with the Ansible task and playbook, right? It's a like interactive tool to guide the what you through the process of running Ansible playbook and task, right? And also provide a real time feedback, like the same thing what changes occurred and all those things in the playbook. You need to mention that hyphen v, double v and triple v options, and then to check that you need to write and all this. We have a lot of feature, we'll discuss that, right? But in the same, we have options, right, in the navigator, right? And we can see it's like when especially when I use those things, like I feel that's like more easy compared to the Ansible playbook, right, when we're talking about the navigator. So there's like some features like Red Hat just make this more flexible, more advanced, right, to define your or to process your configuration management tool, especially any configuration like Apache Nginx and all those things, right? So there's like difference between that normal playbook and navigator. Just like a new in RHCE version 9, right? And with the help of these command, you need to mention those different tools. Still, modules are available, right? If you wanted to do that, you can use the Ansible playbook as well, right? In RHCE 9, if you know, if you guys know that, we have been built at Ansible core, right? So you can use that too in RSC versions 9. But once we're talking about the official curriculum of Red Hat, and when we're talking about the exam of RSC 294, right? So they recommend that, or we need to execute all the playbook with the help of navigator command. Okay, so that's like a point, but again, that's depend on your options and your requirement, like what types of content you wanted to execute that and how you wanted to execute. So depend on that, right? So that's totally the choice, right, between the tool that you are wanted to deploy that, right? So depend on the specific need and preferences of the users, and then the environment or the company they wanted to use that. Okay, so that's a point actually. And if you need, then I'll show you that official curriculum as well. So that's like official ebook of Red Hat 294 version. Okay, so if you notice now, all the things are remain same, reduction of those things, right, that we discussed earlier or we check on this previous content. And then the same how you can create inventory file and all those things. Okay, and then the variables and the facts actually. Okay, then the loops, handlers and all those things. Okay, the j2 file and all those things, right? And how you can manage the large number of project and specifications. And then we have Ansible content, especially the roles and all those things we can say, right? Galaxies, we can compare those things, but like a more advanced than the galaxies and so on. And then the troubleshooting steps are same in the version 8 and version 9 that we discussed earlier, like v, triple v, and you can check the logs file and all those things. Okay, and the same with the help of Ansible Navigator or Ansible, how we can automate our Linux basic command like creating a file folder and so on, so on, so on. Okay, so that's like official curriculum and so on, right? So now the next we are simple going to learn how we can install, okay, Ansible Navigator over your RSC, I mean your RHEL machines. Okay, so the next what we have, because always recommendations that if you wanted to install your applications, right, especially the application means the navigator or Ansible, right, make sure you are subscribed with your Red Hat registries and all those things, right? So depend on that, either you can use the EPL and all those things, or either you can use any Python module to configure Ansible navigator package. Okay, so installations of Ansible Navigator. So that's like a simple and straightforward when we're talking about that. Okay, simple, we need something information, something means we need a Python module. Okay, and then we need a Ansible Navigator. So let's suppose, okay, so let's suppose that is my machine. Okay, now I wanted to install Ansible Navigator over my this machines. Okay, so I'm using my RHEL9 OS. If I'll show you that, you guys. Okay, so I'm using 9.0 Pro. Okay, now I wanted to install Ansible Navigator in my this machines. Okay, if you notice now, I don't have, I think I don't have Ansible Navigator yet. Okay, I have all those different packages, especially the Ansible Playbook, Galaxy, and all those things, but I don't have any Ansible Navigator. Yeah, okay, we don't have. Okay, so I wanted to install that. Okay, so make sure first you need to install that Python 3p packages. Okay, so simple, you can use the yum command as well. Okay, either you can simply use dnf. Make sure you have a running repository. Just create a local repository again. Okay, if you notice now, in my case I'm using a local repository, even though, okay, so that connected with my local repository, and in my system, okay, I don't have any public repository. Again, I'm mentioning that. Okay, this is like default redhat.com, and in my case I'm using a local repository. Okay, so here I'm not going to use or subscribe any public repository, right? From the Python module, I'm just adding a Ansible Navigator for my systems. Okay, so in my case, my local yum is running there. Okay, inside the local yum repository, you guys need to install a package, right? So you can use the, again, dnf. Either you can use that yum as well, right? So which package I wanted to install? Python 3. Okay, and pip. I think in my case is installed by default, but let me check. Okay, so in my case this package is installed. Okay, by default it's not available in any machines. So first you guys need to install these packages. Okay, and now with the help of this module Python 3, so module is pip. Okay, and install which package? So I wanted to install Ansible Navigator. Okay, I want to install Ansible Navigator. Just mention those Navigator and hit enter. It will install those module inside your machine. The simple and straightforward. That's all. Done. Successfully install Ansible Navigator 2.0. Right? Done. Wanted to verify, or simple you can use Ansible hyphen Ansible, or you can simply use tab 2 times. If you notice now, we got a command. Right? So these are like simple steps to install those Navigator inside your machines. Okay, now so Ansible Navigator needs some we can say module, actually, like if you know that in the Ansible plugin or Ansible plugin we have to install a different versions, and then we got a module like copy module, file folder module, and all those things, right? Similarly in similarly for the Ansible Navigator, right, we need to install we can say container images, right, that help or that store your module, especially to run those command, right? So by default we have a different images, the same thing. Okay, you can subscribe the images or you can pull the images, right? Either, in my case, if I just check the command like podman images, right, we'll discuss that what is the use of images in the next section, right? But I'll just show you that, like for example, once you install your Ansible, by default we don't have any images yet. Okay, so either if you have images, then you can use this command as well, Ansible Navigator images, right? But in my case, actually, if I don't have any images, or in my case it will automatically download images, right? Might be 1 or 2 images, or you can subscribe your images from the Red Hat, or from the QA, from the CentOS, from the Docker, or from anywhere that wanted to add inside your systems, right? So so in my case I don't have any images yet. Okay, if I just run this command like that, okay, if you notice now quickly, right, so it's trying to download that, pulling from the images, but I want to quit that, so I'm just pressing Control C. Okay, because I'll let you know. Okay, so I don't have any images, so you can use this command. Either you can simply use this command. So this command will pull the images, again I'm mentioning that. Okay, and this command will you to check the images. Okay, and if image is not there, it's automatically download your image for you. Okay, I'll show you that. So let's suppose again I'm trying to download those images, and I don't have any images because I want to check with the podman images command. Okay, if I just use this command, it's trying to download that. Okay, so you can use this command as well. The very first time, again I'm mentioning that if you don't have any images, this command used to check that. If not, then also trying to download that, right? Either if you want to download that images from the QA and from the public repository that are mentioning inside your navigator, trying to download that, hit enter. Okay, so if you notice now, okay, it's trying to download from the QA. Okay, and I think the size for might be 1.5 GB, if I'm not wrong. So that could be vary actually, so depend on the size. So what contain inside this, so these images have a lot of modules, right, that help to run automate your systems, right? And even though if I show you the official ebook as well, if you guys need, then right, so inside this official ebook you have a path, you can mention and manage those things. So let's suppose these are steps also they mention that, right? If you wanted to install those things, right, you can simply install navigator, check the navigator versions. Okay, and I'm using a public repository, so I'm not going to log in that. But again, if you need any specific like that, right, I need something Ansible automation platform, something, right? So in that case you need to log in with your redhat.com authentications, right? And then you can pull the images to check that, Ansible navigator images to check that, right? So in my case is pulling, right? I think it's taking some times, might be depend on the size and speed, but I'll go you through that. Okay, so after that you can use that, and they recommend, not recommendation, they can also use the, they can also say that if you want then you can use this Ansible core as well. So that's like by default inbuilt it in your RHEL 9 repository, like in your app stream and base OS. So simple you can create a repository and I mean you can use yum, or you can use the DNF install and something like Ansible and Ansible-core. Okay, so that's the point. If you notice now, yeah, so here we got successfully, if you notice now, we have successfully download that images. Okay, and these are like options, right? With these options you guys can check that, like the collection, the configuration, the documentation, the images, the inventory file, all those things you can mention, you can check here, right? I'll show you one more point. If we notice now, like podman images, okay, so now here we got images, right? Again, we'll discuss that about these images, but the navigator works on that. If you notice now, yeah, so we have like 1.4 GB, I mean 1.5 and 1.4 GBs images. Okay, and if you notice now, Ansible navigator and images, so we have images as well. If you notice now, it will show that, yeah, we have images. Okay, collecting those informations, and now we have these images, and the size of might be this one actually. Okay, so a lot of information we have that, with the help of these things you can check that. Okay, and the same you have another option, wanted to verify, then you can run your playbook, right? For example, wanted to execute your playbook, like similarly, so we have Ansible navigator. Then in the earlier what command we have that, like command like that, we have Ansible -playbook, and then playbook name something like test.yaml. Okay, but now in with the help of navigator, how you can execute that, the simple command, we have Ansible navigator, then I wanted to run that, which playbook, let's suppose test.yaml. Okay, and then study out. So these are the syntaxes with the help of these command. Study out, you guys know the standard input, standard out, I mean it's study in, study out, right? So standard output, it will show that like what changes would occur that, and how you can write a program. Okay, so these are like differences in RHC versions 8 and versions 9, right? These are like officials content, and the same in your local machines, how we can install the navigator packages, Ansible navigator. Okay, you can say without subscriptions as well, but what I recommend that just take a subscription from the Red Hat. It's like a develop, so that's like a freely available. It's not about that you need to pay something. Okay, so from the developer you can use that, and these are a command, with the help of these command you can execute your playbook. Okay, and in the next videos or next section we will talk about that, how to write a playbook, right, and how to execute those playbook in RHEL9 with the different mechanisms. Okay, so if any doubt, just let me know. Okay, and then we will here to respond you.